Today on the channel, we're going to talk about Retro Fighter's Brawler 64 Nintendo 64 controller on the Nintendo Switch. Hello gamers, welcome back to the channel once again. Today we're going to be talking about the Retro Fighter's Brawler 64 Nintendo 64 Pro Controller alternative for the Nintendo Switch. More importantly, the NSO and the N64 app version on the Nintendo Switch, because a lot of people are having a hard time using regular Pro controllers or Joy-Cons to play these Nintendo 64 games. And let's be honest, we all do not have the ability to purchase the N64 controller from Nintendo, mostly because they're always sold out everywhere we go. You go to eBay, they're extremely expensive, so we don't really have a lot of options. But Retro Fighter has released a Brawler 64 wireless gamepad, which works with Nintendo Switch Online as well as PC. And what this does is it takes all those buttons, all those configurations from the Nintendo 64 controller and modernizes it into a more modern day controller. They take the analog stick from the middle of the controller, move it to where most of the thumbsticks are normally at now. We have all four of the C buttons, the B button, A button, start button are all where it is on the Nintendo 64 controller. But for me, with the announcement of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, it was finally time for me to pull the trigger and get the NSO expansion pack, because when it was first announced, I didn't think it was worth it just for a couple N64 games. I was waiting for a little bit more, and then with the announcement of GBA and Game Boy Color and all that great stuff, I was like, okay, now I feel like this is actually worth my money. So I went ahead and invested in the expansion pack for NSO, but I found out really quickly that a regular Pro controller does not work very well when it comes to the Nintendo 64 games. The button mapping is kind of like all over the place, and I needed something to be more real to what the N64 experience was. And like I said, the N64 controller for the Switch is really expensive because it's sold out on Nintendo shop. If you try to get this on eBay, scalpers are just, charging an astronomical amount of money for the controller. So I decided to go the Retro Fighter Brawler 64 route. So I got the controller. Again, it was like 50-60 bucks. It was kind of on the a little expensive side, and within days I had it and I was able to test it out, and I tried it out with a few games. I tried it out with Mario 64. It works absolutely fantastic. Works the way you would think it would work. Zelda Ocarina of Time was the main game that I was playing, and I having a really hard time playing with a Pro controller, but with the Brawler 64 it just feels so natural. The best way to link this controller up to your Switch is just connect it through USB. Once you connect it through USB, then you really don't have to worry about connecting it ever again. You can just turn your Switch on, turn the controller on, and you're ready to go and start playing at that point. There's a nice little swap button at the top of the controller, and if you hit it, it turns the controller from N64 controller into an actual Pro controller. Although I don't recommend playing like that, because it's basically you're playing with one thumbstick, and a lot of games today, modern games, require you to have multiple thumbsticks. But if you're playing more of a retro type game, old school game, then you can use this as a Pro controller, and all the buttons and functionality are there that you will find like in a N64 or in a Pro controller. So I'm glad they have the option for that. Overall, my experience with the Brawler 64 has been a positive one. I use this for more than just the N64 games. I use this for the Game Boy games, the Game Boy Advance games, because the button layout is right there, and I think it works very, very well. But overall, my investment, I am happy that I spent the money to get this thing, because trying to play Ocarina of Time with a Pro controller is just no buenos, guys. It's no good. It's no good, and I don't really recommend try to play Ocarina of Time or any other of the N64 games using the Pro controller, because it doesn't really lay out what buttons are what, and you're really guessing most of the time. So if you are someone like me and you like N64 games, and maybe the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy game announcement got you intrigued to get the expansion pass, and you're just having a hard time, then I highly recommend the Brawler 64. You can pick this thing up on Amazon, eBay. I got mine on Amazon, and I just had a blast playing some of the old games with this controller, and I like how it has the old feeling of the N64 controller in a more modern style. And overall, I highly recommend it, but I want to know what you guys think. Have you picked up the expansion pass with the announcement of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games? Are you still waiting? Leave those comments in the comment box below. Smash that like and subscribe button. And until next time, as always, I am Robert Storms, and thank you for watching.